YouTube? I'm back again today for another game review. Today we're excited to check out Stop Thief from Restoration Games. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 plus. It'll take about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And Stop Thief is an old classic. It was released in like the 1960s or 1970s, in which you're going to be playing as private investigators trying to capture thieves in order to get rewards, in order to win the game. But you're going to have to deduce where those thieves are based on sounds that you're going to hear on an app you'll be using on your phone. It says different thieves, different good guys trying to catch those thieves, different sounds, lots of different stuff going on. Interesting premise for a game. It was also my top 10 most anticipated games of Gen Con. Does it live up to my hype? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Stop Thief. So first and foremost, we have a handy dandy rule booklet, 7 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. Very well done. And there's also a rule book that you can look at in the app, which I'll get to in a little bit. So in Stop Thief, there is going to be a thief that is going to be running around. They committed a crime. You're going to try and catch this thief, but you don't know where they are. You're going to try and have to deduce where they are based on what sounds the app is going to make on yours and other people's turn. So what am I talking about? Let's go over the components. Let's get into the gameplay. So first and foremost, each player is going to select one of these cool little meeple dudes right here. And the meeples are very cool looking. You got, I think, 6 of them. Yeah, there's 6, even though it only goes to 4 players. And each of the characters is slightly different. They all have their own little quirks. So I like to play as the yellow guy. His big thing is he has 2 12s, which means he's going to be able to fly around the board potentially. There's the black character, a lady who is able to get a little bit of a boost when she goes outside. So she doesn't have to counter the first 3 steps a lot when she goes outside when she plays certain cards. Some people will get an extra tip. They're all play their own slightly different way. It's a little bit asymmetrical in that aspect. Also, we have the board here, which is kind of going to be the start of the show. This is where you are going to be traveling, and it looks like a giant mess. I assure you it's actually pretty simple. You're going to be moving your character along the spots, and the spots that you can go to are the circles and the numbers. So if I wanted to go 4 spaces, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'd land on this door, I'd land right here. Whereas the criminal only goes from number to number to number to number to number. Once you get that down, it's pretty simple. There's also some special locations. There's doors and windows. There's a subway system that has 4 different spots in the corners, then 1 spot in the middle, which allows you to kind of fast travel from one location to the next, which is nice. But it also means that the thief can do the same thing as well. So there's the board. You're going to have some money, which is how you're going to win the game. You'll be going to X amount of points unless you're playing the more advanced version of the game, which I actually like slightly better, but all the versions of the game are good. Spoiler alert. And you'll also have a little character to help show people. You'll put this in front of us to help people know which color you are. But let's go ahead and we'll fire up the app because that's really what you're probably interested in. And this is the app right here. The app, I will talk more about it in the pros and cons. It is both the best aspect of the game, but also at the same time, somewhat can be sometimes the worst aspect of the game. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So I clicked on Stop Thief, and you're going to hear some music pretty soon. Dead air. Dead air. This is dead air. This is what dead air looks like. This is one of the problems that I'm talking about. Sometimes the app just will not work. And this is both the case on my Android and on my iPad. And so, yeah, we're going to close all and we'll try that one again. Let's see if closing all this stuff will help a little bit. Boop. And boom. So, go to Restoration Games, click on the app. And normally there's music, but hey, not music this time for some particular reason. And here we go. There's the music. All right, so first you want to look at the rules. It will tell you all sorts of the different rules, and you really can kind of learn the game almost just from these rules. Now, I've never actually done that, but I read the rules in hindsight and did that. So we'll go to New Game. There's other ways to play that will be coming, and hopefully you can see this. Let's see if I can get the right angle right here. So there's a 1 versus all, which I'm very excited about, cooperative solo. But right now you can play as the basic version of the game and the retro version of the game. I have not tried the retro version of the game, but it actually gives you the old-style retro soundboard thing, which is nice. So Stop Thief, you choose which difficulty you want. Now that's one comment I have. You can barely even tell that there is an option to go for different difficulties, but pretty much the only differences of those are either you're going to be going for money or you'll be going for a certain number of criminals. Also, they will be more likely to go through windows or doors, or they'll be more likely to take the subway. And I'm actually going to turn the sound off right now. But we'll just start on the standard version of the game. And when you start the game, the first player, they'll tell you who the first player is. And then they will tell you that he is at Swimmerton's department store. So we all now know that the bad guy is at this department store and they start off on a red space. And now we're ready to start off the game. Also, you start off with some money, some other stuff like that. But you start in the middle, you have a little bit of cash. I believe it's 3,000 bucks. And now what you're going to do on your turn, it's relatively simple. You are going to get a clue and then you're going to play a card. So get a clue, pretty self-explanatory. You're going to click this button and this clue is for everyone to hear. That's a door opening, which means that the criminal has went from one of these red spots in the department store to a door. Now let's take a look at some of the places they could potentially be. Now remember, they don't actually have to go on the circles. They go from number to number to number. So they could be right here because they might have went through that door. They could be also right here because they're going that way through the door. They could be heading out here to 6th Street. They could be here. They could be a variety of different places. So next what I would do is I'd play one of my cards down. And everyone's going to have a couple of the same cards. So first, everyone's going to have a private tip that you'll be able to get. And a private tip, I'll give you a look at that. Before you move, you get a private tip. So this one will tell us that he's at 251. So we actually know exactly where he is, but the fact that we're only going to get him move 2 spaces means we're kind of handcuffed on being able to get him, because in order to capture the criminal, you have to be in an adjacent spot next to him. So if I was right here, I could make an arrest at 231 or 630 or 131 or 610, but you still have to be close to him in order to get it. Now, secret tip, no one else is supposed to see, so you do that in secret. And then if you wanted to, you could make an arrest. Obviously, I know he's not near me, so I would not make an arrest. So I'd move my spaces, and then it would be the next person's turn. They'd get a clue, and now they are walking on 6th Street, which means we really have limited down our options. So they started on a red spot, they walked out a door, and now they are on 6th Street, which are some of these numbers on the outside that start with a 6. So we thought he might be here, so he might be here, he might be here. He could potentially be over here as well because there's a red spot, door, and out here. So once again, someone would play one of their cards, they'd move a number of spaces, and you would rinse, wash, repeat until somebody eventually made an arrest. So let's just get a private tip and see if we can do this. So get a private tip, he's at 650, so I'm going to make an arrest, and we'll say he's at 650. So I would have to be near 650, so I would have to be, say, right here. But if I did that, I've successfully captured him, which means I would collect my reward. Now, another thing I forgot to mention is each of the thieves has their own little quirks. So investigators can't move more than 9 spaces. They can still have cards higher than 9 when you're trying to catch her. This guy, each other investigator gets 1,000 from the bank unless it would cause them to win. So 10,000 when he's captured. Rob Sherwood, after collecting a reward, choose another investigator to take 2,000 from the bank. So each one has their own unique quirk. Once that person has been caught, you're going to get a new bad guy out there, or bad lady out there, who's going to rob a certain place. Your characters stay in place, though, and you try to have to go to that other spot on the board and try to capture them until you get to X amount of money. Now, what can happen, though, is you might investigate a spot and you're wrong. If that's the case, then you have to pay $1,000 to the bank, which is a little bit of a bummer. Also, what can sometimes happen is they go through doors, they go through windows, they will stay in the same place. Sometimes they'll go back and commit another crime, which means you add another $1,000 to the criminal, which means that it makes it a little bit more lucrative. But anywho, you're going to continue taking turns trying to capture them. Oh, how do you pick up your cards? Because once you spend cards, they stay on the table. Everyone's got one of these that at the end of your turn, pick up all your movement cards. So there you go. Also, when you must adjust with the settings, sometimes they will take the subway, sometimes they won't take the subway. It all depends on which game mode you are playing. But that, in a nutshell, is how you're going to play Stop Thief. Alrighty then, Stop Thief from Restoration Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 2 to 4 players, very restricted player count. Also, the game is a lightweight family game. This is definitely not one that I'm probably going to play as a game night too terribly often, unless you have a lighter game night, just because, there's just not enough meat on the bones in this game. Now, maybe when they add a 1 versus all, and once they add a cooperative mode, that might bring it back to the table. And everyone I played with, for the most part, and put a caveat on that, enjoyed this game. And I'm going to go ahead and glowingly recommend this game in the pros. But the app is one of the biggest problems with this game. And it's also one of the biggest strengths of this game. Too many times, I would say at least 10 to 20 times since I've started playing this game, I've had issues getting that app started up or having that app just crash all of a sudden. Now, it's not a huge deal because you can go back and you can resume your game, but still, it is annoying, and I wish the app was a little bit better stability-wise. Also, I wish it was a little bit easier to figure out that you can go from beginner mode to standard mode to intermediate mode to custom rules mode, because you really have to notice that little tiny little arrow there, and if you don't notice it, and you'll just be like, oh, you just play the same game over and over and over again, even though I personally like the intermediate version of the game better. Played pretty well across all the player counts, so that was not a problem. Any other cons that I have with the game? I mean, the biggest one is just the app. And I hope that in the future the app gets a little bit more stable, because like I said, I have problems on both my iPad and my Android with the app from time to time. Also, for some reason, and I don't know what we did, the first time we played this game was an absolute train wreck. Like, the characters, or the thief was going in weird spots that didn't make any sense, and we went back and like retraced their steps, and we're like, no, that couldn't physically have been possible, and that almost completely soured the game for us. I don't know what happened with the app, but for one game, it completely just pooped the bed, and it didn't make any sense, and we ended up quitting that game, and I was like, oh man. But since then, I've had no issues with the app thief-wise, where the thief should be or should not be, because it allows you to retrace the thief's steps after you catch the thief, and every other time it's been correct, but that first time, for some reason, it was just absolutely off-the-walls bonkers wrong. Any other cons? I don't know if I mentioned it, 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. It's light, simple, family weight. Moving on to the pros, though, Stop Thief is fantastic. This is a fantastic family game. This is one of my favorite family games of the year. And I could see this potentially earning a Bowers Best Seal in the future once they update that app. And not only with stability issues, because honestly, the stability issues I can get over. I enjoy the game enough that it doesn't bug me that much. It doesn't happen too terribly often, like maybe once every other game or twice every other game. But the fact that eventually it's going to be one versus all and co-op, where I think someone will be playing the thief, that intrigues me, especially if that adds a 5th player to the mix. Because if you can go from 2 to 4 players to 2 to 5 players, oh baby, I'm all in on that. What else do I like about the game? There's variety. There's variety in the different kind of thieves. Each of the thieves is slightly different. Yes, I would like to see maybe a little bit more variety, but just the fact that each thief has their own little quirks, I like. I also like the fact that all the investigators are slightly different. So some might be faster, some might be better at this, some might be better at that, some might be able to go through windows, and I like that aspect of the game. I like all those little tiny changes they made to the game. The sound in the game is fantastic, and like I said, the app is both the biggest strength and the biggest weakness in my personal opinion, because the app, when it works, it's fantastic. It's outstanding. It's very easy to learn and teach this game, which is great, obviously what you want for a family weight game. Likes all the player counts, and in the end, Stop Thief is a great family weight game that I absolutely can recommend wholeheartedly to a family weight crowd. As a game night game, maybe. It depends on your game night. If you play lighter games, then yes, this is definitely one you want to check out. If you don't play lighter games too frequently, then no, probably you're going to want to pass on this one. But as a family weight game, this is almost a must-own game. It is that good. I know some people are not going to like the fact it has the app implementation, so you'll have to have a cell phone or an iPad or something with you. But if you can get past that, Stop Thief is a fantastic family weight game. Wholeheartedly recommend this one. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click on that subscribe button and down below in the comments below. Let me know, have you ever been robbed? For me personally, yes. The last time I was robbed, it was right after we moved into my house. Somebody threw a brick in our window and then stole my wife's purse, which was not so smartly sitting on the table right next to a giant window that gets a lot of foot traffic. But that's neither here nor there. So that's the last time I was robbed. Let me know in the comments below. It's the last time you were robbed. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.